My camera's shaking today. Right, okay, my name's Linda and welcome to October 2022 Coffee and Cards, and this is week 2 and we're doing some stamping to create the background basically for this card. So there's no die cutting today and I'm just using 2 ink colours. So I'm using Cajun Craze and Early Espresso, and I'm sticking with the Very Vanilla this time as well. I do think this stamp set really works well on the Very Vanilla. It just looks right. So I'm going to show you how I've done that first of all. So we need 4 stamps. So I've got them out here already. So I've got the outside of the lager, which I am stamping in Early Espresso, and the lager or beer is stamped in Cajun Craze, and then the bubbles spilling over the top of the glass are also going to be in Early Espresso. So I've got those all ready to go, and then I've got the sentiments as well, which again I'm going to stamp in Early Espresso. Itchy eye. Right, so let's get everything out. So there we go. Now I thought with this, because you could use any sentiment you want, you could use it from this set, or you could use a sentiment from another set. So I've given you quite a large piece of card that you're going to cut down to size once you've stamped. So that's the crumb cake. Then we've got a piece of Very Vanilla that we're going to stamp on. Garden Green we're going to mat onto, and then this is the Cajun Craze DSP from the He's a Man range. And then we've got some Very Vanilla to go inside, and a crumb cake card blank. And we do Very Vanilla envelopes as well. So with these cards, if I've used Very Vanilla card, I've given you a Very Vanilla envelope, so it matches. Okay, so we'll just get this ready to go, and I'm going to pop it onto my grid paper straight. You can buy the grid paper from the catalogue, it's near the back. If you look in the index, you can find it under accessories, I think it is. But it's really good for keeping things straight. When I'm mounting stamps, I use my grid paper. When I'm stamping, I use my grid paper. When I'm trying to find the middle of things, I use my grid paper. So, and also it gives you that little bit of give, so you get nice smooth images as well. And I'm going to start with sort of this one here. So, and what I'm going to do is just about a third of the way up, maybe, probably not even that, slightly over to the left, I am going to stamp my sort of primary glass of beer, and that's going to be the sentiment's going to sort of come from that pint. Okay, and then I'm going to start I'm going to add the bubbles, because I thought I don't actually know where the bubbles finish. Excuse my head. Now you may have noticed I've actually mounted these stamps on slightly bigger blocks than they need, and that's so that you can measure, you can line them up easier. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one directly above. Just press down, and then one directly below, but leave enough room for the bubbles. Okay, there we go. Oops, I've just caught it just there, but that'll be covered by the bubbles. I'm going to clean this off. Being joined by a 16-year-old. He's going to have to wait until I finish, because if I have to edit it, it takes me way longer. Right, so and then I'm just going to sort of line these up in between. There's one. And there's another one. And now, because you know roughly where you're going, you don't need to put your bubbles on as you're going along. So I'm just going to stamp this one again, and this time we are just going slightly off the card, which is fine. And this time I'm doing sort of level with the other side. Okay, put that one level there, keeping it straight. And then 2 more just hanging off the top there. So 1 there. Ooh, the bubbles are going to be tight on that one. I might leave the one without, although I can't because it's got a splodge on it. You can see on here where there's a big gap, it's just getting that, it's just catching that ink. So what I suggest you do is, well, first of all, clean between stamping and just make sure that's pressed down into your block so it doesn't pick it up. So I've got a few here with little extra blobs on, but you know, I mean, that just looks like a few little bubbles in the lager, so it's fine. Right, so let's do the rest of the bubbles now. Yeah, you see this one, I should really have done the bubbles before I stamp the one above. I can just squeeze them in. There they go, just. And you can see there's a few little lines. Don't know if you can see that on the bubbles there. And I'm just lining those two with the top of the glass. Okay. Same again. So I'm just looking through the stamp and lining them up. Okay, we'll do this one. And then this one. It's worth taking your time just getting them lined up. They look better that way. Okay. Oops, that's probably a bit low, but that's fine. Oh, it's all the bubbles done. Okay. Actually, I am going to just, I think what I'll do, I'm going to line that up actually there. There you go. So that's the image where I went off the card, which again is useful. This is another thing the grid paper is useful for, because you can go off. And then I'm just lining that up. So we have actually got our dribble of foam on this one in the right place for that. And then I'm just going to take my piece of crumb cake while I've got the early espresso out. I'm going to use the same sentiment because I really like that sentiment. So, because I probably owe lots of people one. So, I think it's just lovely, or several. And again, trying to get that fairly straight because I am actually going to cut that rather than use a die, although if you want to use a die you could do if you've got some small rectangles or something. So right, so back to this now, and I need my Cajun Craze, which I think is a lovely beer colour. I do use different ones further on in the month. I don't just use the Cajun Craze. Ooh. There we go. Okay, so, and for this one I'm going to use the filler stamp. So now if you were stamping straight onto a desk or a glass mat, I would suggest you use one of our stamping mats. Mine's escaped. Oh, there it is. One of these, because it's got a bit of give in it, so it gives you a more even image. But when you're stamping on a big pile of grid paper like I am now, you don't need that. Right, ooh. I've got some bubbles now, I've done that, there they go. So, and I'm just lining this up, excuse my head again, at the bottom of the glass. So there we go, there's one. It will dry paler. And so we're just going to be filling in the beer. So I don't think that one needs one, but this one does. It doesn't have to be exact. The card is handmade. I'm getting a few bubbles, so I'm just cleaning off my stamp and doing it again. So I use a very slightly damp multi-purpose cloth to dry my stamps with, and they dry very, very clean. My stamps with, they dry very, very quickly. So I don't have to dry them once I've cleaned them. There we go. And this one. I do find this quite therapeutic. I do enjoy doing this. Well, it is my favourite part of making cards is the stamping. I love the stamping. I just find it so restful. Or as my son says, relaxful. And there we go. And there's your background. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 glasses of beer. So that's all the stamping done for this card. And we just need to build it. So, sorry, itchy wrist. Ooh, right, okay. So we'll layer up the front. So we need the slip of Cajun craze as well. Ooh. I just put that on top of it. Let me just look. This is how I design. It's all by mistake. No, well, I'm just thinking what happens if I put that on top of that and then put the green on. Oh. No, I'm going to put it on top. That would look different though. If you put it in the middle, wouldn't it? I think I'm still going to leave it underneath. But when I'm deciding on my layers, when I'm designing cards, I always do that. Sort of going backwards and forwards over different orders and different colours. And if you don't have any Very Vanilla, I mean obviously if you've got the kits, I've given you a piece of Very Vanilla, but if you want to repeat this card and don't have any, it does work with the basic white. I just think it looks creamier on the vanilla. I think it just works better. So let's pop this on. And I'm just putting that towards this side, roughly an equal border on all three sides, and then adding this on flat. And so what I'm doing is making this and that side maybe slightly bigger than this side, but not much. So this piece is over onto that side and this piece is over on that side. And I think that looks really nice. Right, so we'll stick the middle in and then we'll do some trimming. Yeah. So if you want to put another sentiment in here before you glue it in, you can do, but I think it's quite a general card, this, you know, I owe you one, or several, happy birthday, or thank you, or thanks for being there, or, you know, it's quite a general card. So I will add a sentiment if I need one once I've decided who's receiving it. So there we go, and I'm just going to get my trimmer out now and trim around. So you can either do it freehand with scissors, or you can do it with your trimmer, or as I said, if you've got a rectangle die that you like, or even a punch. Trying to think if we've got one that would fit it. I don't know that we have at the moment. So, and what I'm going to do is I am lining up I owe you one with the gap. Let's see if you can see that. So I've basically, this is the gap in the trimmer where your blade goes, and I've just lined that up with the edge of it, so it'll just have, if I leave it there, it'll have barely any edge. So I'm just going to move it to the sort of second line there's a second line here, like a peak in the track, and I've just lined it up with that one. And then you line it up with that one all 4 times, and you get an even border. So that's one. Lining the end of the E up with it. There. 2. So it helps when you've actually stamped it straight to start with. Just pop in the eye there. That's 3. And then this is when it gets fun because it's tiny. So what I'm going to do, I've got my post-it note, so I'm just going to check I'm lined up, which I am. And I'm just sticking that down so it doesn't move when I cut it. Double checking, yes, that's where I want it. It's on line with this peak here. So you've got your gap in your middle, peak 1, peak 2. It's the first peak there. Oops. And there we go. So that's beautifully centered, just by cutting it. You can do that with any sentiment you want, and so you can use whatever sentiment you want on the card, as long as it's smaller than the piece of paper I've given you. Right, so we'll just get a couple of dimensionals, or several. I do like one in the middle, I must admit. So I'm just going to pop that in the middle there. So I hope you've enjoyed this card. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. Don't forget to do your thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd be really grateful if you did. It all helps with the algorithm, and more people get to see my videos. There we go. So I owe you one or several. Okay, so, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care. Bye.